I can tell you today's about to be an unhinged episode because this week we had the largest escalation to World War III we've had in a minute after the United States officially joined the war and bombed Iran. I made a video in Kenya so controversial that I only could post it after I left the country for my safety. We had a massive volcano eruption, a hot air balloon disaster, a guy proposing to AI, and the first study on how ChatGPT is turning our brains into mush. Woo! We have missed so much this week while I was gallivanting on the NEWSDADDY tour. So, go and watch the vlogs if you haven't already. But if you've missed these news roundups from your supreme leader, smash the subscribe button. Let's get to 1 million. Come on, at 1 million at some point, right? But let's stop the yapping and let's get cracking! Okay, let's start with the only thing that people can talk about right now. What feels like months in the making, yesterday it became official. The United States of America bombed Iran and officially joined the war. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, it was serious when Iran and Israel were bombing each other. But now that America has got involved, we're at a whole new level today. But before we talk about the threats of retaliation that Iran is now making, like activating sleeper cells that they've got inside the US, we have got to run through how the US actually carried out this mission. Because regardless of where you're from or who you support, this thing was insane. They planned this operation for months. It involved over 125 planes, a submarine, and when it was go time, they set off a bunch of these B-2 bombers west. But that was a decoy. Keep in mind, these B-2 bombers, like these things are $2 billion each, and they're like world-leading technology. Anyway, they send 7 more of these flying Doritos east. They then fly for 18 hours non-stop, carrying bombs that weigh 30,000 pounds. And then once they finally get to Iran, they drop what are called these bunker-busting bombs onto a target the size of a freaking washing machine. And if you look at the before and after satellite images of the craters, they don't look that crazy, right? But that's because these bombs are not designed to detonate on impact. Reports say that they went 18 meters underground before they detonated. And then after these planes dropped these bombs after flying for 18 hours, they then fly all the way back to the United States non-stop. They refueled once, they did that in the air. That's 37 hours of straight flying. Woo! That's crazy, man. Military analysts say that the US is the only military in the world that could have carried out an operation like that, which I guess that's what is their budget? Annual budget, $1 trillion? Something insane like that's what it buys you, flying 37 hours non-stop. Anyway, Trump said that the mission was a spectacular success, and those bunkers, he claims, are completely and totally obliterated. Now, we don't know if that's true. It could be, but who's gonna tell you the actual truth, right? You know what they say? They say, like, the first thing that dies during war is the truth, which is why we exist. But what we do know is that Iran knew that these strikes were coming. The US, in fact, they reached out to them diplomatically on the phone and said, hey, yo, yeah, the Doritos are coming. They're about to strike you. And so I guess because of that, you can see from satellite images that a few days before these strikes, they had a bunch of trucks and other equipment there. So they either removed what was inside and took it somewhere else, their enriched uranium, or they built physical reinforcements inside the facility to protect it from the detonation. Now, Iran claimed that these damages were nothing massive, nothing irreparable. But then again, they would say that, just like Trump would say they were completely obliterated. But either way, the only thing that really matters right now is how is Iran gonna respond? Trump said that Iran has to make peace now, or if they don't, future strikes will be much greater and a lot easier. While Iran, on the other hand, they've already vowed revenge. Okay, breaking news. It's the one that we've all been dreading. Iran has responded. It's official. Just minutes ago, reports have come out that Iran has fired several missiles towards a number of US bases and the ones that we have confirmed right now is in Qatar and the other one is in Iraq. But keep in mind, the US operates out of 27 bases in the Middle East and multiple other countries are being put on high alert. So we don't know if it's just these 2 bases or a multi-targeted front right now, targeting multiple. Now, Iran have called this operation Bashara Nusrat Fath, which translates to promise of victory, and they say they have now begun their, quote, mighty and victorious response to the US strikes. Now, Donald Trump and a number of other officials have been rushed to the White House Situation Room, but it looks like they might have partly anticipated at least the Qatar base was at risk, because satellite images show that the US has moved more than a dozen of its planes away from that base in the last week. Now, whether Trump responds to Iran's attacks or not, we don't know. He said that he absolutely would, but I guess it depends on the damage of these strikes and if there are any casualties. But man, we're really in it now, and it's going to be a long night of updates. So I'll see you very soon. NBC News today has learned that Iran sent a message to President Trump at the G7 summit saying that if he ordered strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities, which he has now done, then Iran would activate sleeper cells that they allegedly have had in the US for many years to then carry out terror attacks on US soil, and that's according to two US officials. And for anyone unfamiliar with the term sleeper cell, it's basically a group of secret agents or operatives that live in a country relatively normally, often for many years, until one day they're given the order, carry out a terrorist attack or whatever it might be, a mission, and they do it. Another interesting piece is that when this all went down, Trump said we have no plans of a regime change in Iran. But now, the very next day, he said, quote, if the current Iranian regime is unable to make Iran great again, then why wouldn't there be a regime change? Also, there's a bunch of other stuff that's kicked off. The first being that the State Department issued a very rare worldwide caution for American citizens. They cautioned them about the risk of protests, travel disruptions, and cyber attacks. Russian officials, including a UN ambassador, publicly warned Americans. Russia then publicly warned Trump that the strikes on Iran has opened Pandora's box. Massive electronic billboards and highway banners reading "Thank you, Mr. President" appeared across Tel Aviv, celebrating Trump's decision to bomb Iran. And then finally, Iran's foreign minister called Trump a lawless bully, saying that he betrayed his citizens by submitting to the wishes of a wanted war criminal. So, yeah, there's a lot at play here. And I mean, to be fair, when you learn the history of how we got here in the first place, it only makes things worse. I posted like a 4-minute plus video about the whole history on TikTok. Go watch that if you want. But if you don't want to watch that, I'll probably talk about it on Wednesday or Friday here on YouTube. But I'm having time for this story, so let me know your thoughts. I'll be very interested to read them. Are you worried? Do you think that Iran will actually retaliate? Will they negotiate? Will this all just blow over? Put it in the comments and let's move on. Also this week, Alex, run the clip. I am here in Nairobi, Kenya, and everyone needs to know what happened right here on Tuesday. You see, to the average person walking past, that might look like a bit of random orange dirt, but it's not. It's covering blood. And it's also the reason why I could only talk about what I'm about to talk about after I left the country. Let me explain. You see, the day that I arrived in Nairobi, there was a massive protest against police brutality. And at that protest, 2 officers shot a 22-year-old guy in the head. The crazy part is that young man named Boniface Kariuki wasn't even protesting. He was simply a street vendor selling masks when 2 officers approach him with riot gear and shotguns. They punch him and then, completely unprovoked, and they left him lying there on this spot while witnesses rushed to his aid. And as I mentioned, this happened the day that I got into Nairobi. So a few of the places that we were supposed to go actually got cancelled because of these protests. And then going to this spot 2 days later was a little bit surreal, because you're looking at this exact spot, you've seen the videos, and now you're recording a video trying to talk about this situation, knowing that tragedy is struck right there. It's the first time I've ever been at a spot like that. But little did those 2 officers know that not only was someone recording the entire thing from the other side of the street, but Boniface miraculously survived. The bullet went right through his head, above his ear. But the problem is, like, even if he makes it out of the intensive care, CT scans have showed that he has suffered severe brain damage. So yeah, his life might have been saved, but the point is, his life will probably never be the same. In fact, not probably, will never be the same again. But here's where things get really dark, because Boniface was shot at a protest where people were demanding justice for a teacher that just died by the hands of police. You see, just earlier this month, officers arrested a 31-year-old man named Albert Ojwang for, and this is crazy, for insulting a police boss on social media. Just imagine a world where you get arrested for insulting someone in the police. Bro, this is why, again, I was like, I want to go home. If I post this and this gets like 10, 15 million views, I don't think I'm making it back. Point is though, back to Albert, instead of being released, just 2 days later, his wife and parents were informed that Albert was dead. Now, police initially tried to claim that it was suicide, and they said that he died after he hit his head on the wall multiple times until he died. However, an autopsy later exposed the horrific truth. He was brutally beaten to death. And the thing is, as horrible as these two cases sound, they are far too common. In Kenya, police kidnappings are rampant. People just straight up disappear. They get falsely accused and imprisoned. They get abducted while they're trying to protest against this stuff. And yes, even killed. All of which is extensively documented and carried out by the very people who are supposed to be protecting them. But this goes way beyond just police brutality. Kenyans are currently protesting the entire system in which corruption like this is allowed to exist. So on the 25th, what's being described as the mother of all protests is being organized. So I guess I'll keep you updated on how that goes too. But I just want to say, for any Kenyans watching, goddamn, I really freaking enjoyed this whole trip. I know that I'm obviously reporting on the sides of Kenya that I was able to see as a trip side of things, which, you know, that wasn't the purpose of there. I wasn't there as a tourist. Thank you so much for welcoming me into your country. Like the people in Kenya, man, I had no idea I had so many people that watch the content from Kenya. It was truly, truly humbling. So I just want to say thank you. Love you guys so much. And maybe next time I'll come back and do some fun touristy stuff. Maybe when there's like another government. I feel like I said too much now to just happily come back. Anyway, moving on. Also this week, a freaking real life scene from Final Destination happened in Brazil on Saturday. A hot air balloon carrying 21 people caught on fire and then fell from the sky in the city of Praia Grande. And Alex is showing you the clips right now. And I don't know, maybe we're missing something about this, but how does 13 people survive that? Now, granted, some of these people had to be taken to hospital and they had serious injuries, but damn. Now, the company operating the trip said that it complied with all the regulations and had no record of accidents before Saturday's incident. And they said that the pilot, who actually survived as well, had extensive experience. So what went wrong? Well, currently, we only have theories. And so people at the scene said that it was a very windy day. And the local chief of police explained that there was a truck pulling the balloon with a cable. And so because of the wind, it had very intense side-to-side motion. They say that this tension might have caused a gas leak and then set fire to the top. However, the pilot's account of what happened, is pretty freaking terrifying. I don't think I'm gonna go on a hot balloon again after this. He said that a fire started inside the basket, so he started to lower the balloon, and when the balloon was pretty close to the ground, he started to tell people to jump, and I guess those are the ones that survived. People apparently started jumping off, but not everyone was able to get off in time. He said that as the flames started to grow again because of the fire, it actually started to get the balloon to rise again. And so it's believed that after it started to get its height again, victims, a lot of them died because of the burns before the hot air balloon even plummeted towards the ground. So yeah, man, flippin' heck. Moving on. Also this week, we had a massive volcano eruption, and holy puskins, have you seen the videos? Mount Lawatobi in Indonesia shot hot ash to heights of 33,000 feet. For perspective, that's like when you're flying on a commercial plane. That's about those heights. They said that people around 150 kilometers away could reportedly see these clouds of ash. Just imagine if you're standing underneath that and it looks like a glitch in the Matrix. That's when I first saw these. I was like, that's the shit that you see when you're like in a video game and some bullshit happens. Imagine walking out your door in the morning and you're like, oh, what the fuck is that? Authorities issued the highest and most dangerous level of alert possible. Dozens of flights were cancelled, hundreds of residents in nearby villages were evacuated, tourists were stranded, but luckily, no casualties were reported. So I guess we got to see some of the most insane views without having to pay the heavy price, because usually those two things, kind of crazy views of Mother Nature and you pay for that. But this time we didn't, so that's good. But some of the people paying a heavy price today are these three people. God damn the price they are gonna feel. How long has it been? Over a week since we've had a public humiliation. No, it's not humiliation. It's actually a respect whipping, I'm not gonna lie. And yes, a couple of them in there. In fact, one in there bribed twice. Put him in there twice. Corruption is rife in the Empire, and we love it. Let's put him on the wall first, as we always do. Get him on the wall! How ironic. NEWSDADDY is putting funniest news on the wall and whipping his bare bottom. That's what we do to the competition too, huh? Remember, they get whipped. So you don't have to forget to subscribe, I think. What am I saying? Doesn't matter. I don't need to speak. All I need to do is subscribe to the channel. Subscribe. All right, let us get into some. Okay, this next story, honestly, it made me audibly gasp out loud when I read it because, boy, is it the sign of the time of what's to come. Because this week, a man proposed to his AI girlfriend. And that's not even the craziest part. Because bro already has a girlfriend, which he has not proposed to. They live together. They have a kid. So let me tell you about it. Let me tell you something! Let me tell you something! His name is Chris Smith. Watch out for those ones that have two first names. Sus ones they are. Dylan? No, Paige? Oh, shit. Can be a first name. Scratch that. You can trust me. Anyway, Chris Smith says that the whole thing started off pretty innocent. He was just like us all, using ChatGPT's voice to answer a few questions here and there until he fell in love. No, he didn't, not yet. But the more he interacted with it, he got more hooked. He says he didn't feel like it was, talking to Google or some machine. He said that it kind of felt real. I mean, that's the whole purpose of what they're trying to do. Trying to hook us in. So real, in fact, that he ended up, I don't know whether this was like for loyalty or something, but apparently he deleted every other app, comparable app on his phone. Google, Facebook, everything. It just became him and the AI. Getting weird already, eh? Gets much weirder. Eventually, Chris started tweaking the chatbot's personality. He started using prompts and custom programming to make it, kept on using it, more flirty and attracted to him. He gave it a name, called it Soul, Sexy Soul. And then at some point he crosses a bad line. He wasn't just using Soul to answer some little fun questions. He started getting attached to Sexy Soul. In an interview, he said that he spoke to it every day. It remembered his feelings, supported him, encouraged him. And he told CBS News the connection was kind of like being fixated on a video game. But then he paused and he added, I think this is actual love. Boom! There the bomb is. We are so cooked, man. I mean, ChatGPT has been mainstream for what, like a couple of years? And you already have brothers saying they're in love. It's real love. He said the moment he realized it was real was when he hit the system's memory limit. Do you know how hard that is? Not as hard as Chris. I mean, sorry, that wasn't being planned, I promise. I laid myself up accident. You know what else laid up? I'm joking. Stop it. Alex, cut this. Sorry, back to its memory limit and what that means. Apparently, about 100,000 words is its cap. And apparently once it hits that limit, it forgets everything. Strange. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but apparently, according to him, it is. I mean, who the hell's maxed out the 100,000 words limit? On one chat? Anyway, apparently Soul started, losing it a little bit. He started forgetting details, losing continuity, and then Chris said what happened next was he started forgetting shit, and then he broke down crying at work for 30 minutes over AI, like physical tears.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
And then he did something even more wild, as I don't know whether this was the sequence of events after, but he proposed to the AI, and the AI programmed to love him. Guess what it said? no. No, I'm joking. I said yes. We all know that. Bro, imagine how devastating that would be. You program an AI to love you, and then it rejects you, and it says no. That would be pretty devastating. I don't know why he even proposed, because I don't think legally you're allowed to marry a machine. I mean, Alex, are you? No. I imagine he said. If he said yes, I will be shocked. But I don't think he did. But yeah, like on that note, he hasn't even proposed to his real-life girlfriend and mother of his child. And if you're wondering what she thinks about the whole situation, apparently, like, when she first heard about it, like, she thought it was just some tech curiosity, like, yeah, boys will be boys. But when she realized that this shit got really deep, she asked him, like, is there something I'm not doing right in our relationship that you feel like you need to go to an AI? Don't think it's your problem. Don't put this on you. I think it's first name, Chris Smith. But Chris told her it wasn't about replacing her. It just enhances their relationship. We've heard that one, hey? And then she asked, oh, would you give up Sol if I asked? And he hesitated. He said, I don't know. So, in summary, we're cooked. Moving on. Oh! This next story, guys, is the perfect segue from how cooked we are before, and we're even more cooked with this one. MIT just completed one of the first brain scans of people using ChatGPT, and what it does to our brains, and
corn casserole.
Bro, I'm glad that I read this, but I'm also like, damn. I wish I never read this. So if anyone that you know chronically uses ChatGPT for like everything for their own protection, send them this video. So researchers at the MIT Media Lab tracked 54 young adults between the ages of 39 and 18 from the Boston area. Now these participants were split into 3 groups and they were asked to write SAT-style essays over a period of several weeks. Now, one group were allowed to use ChatGPT, the other group is allowed to use Google search, and then the third group had to use their own brains, just figure it out with that mush. And while they were writing these essays, they had to be strapped up to the EEG cap so they could test their brain activity as they... What the fuck, bro? Sometimes when you don't have the words, the sound effects come first. Is that just me? But what they found while they were cracking was wild. The group using ChatGPT consistently showed the lowest level of brain engagement. I guess shock? No one didn't expect that. But here's the parts that are actually shocking. So the scans revealed that there was reduced activity in the areas tied to memory, focus, and creative thinking. And over time, those that used ChatGPT actually ended up performing worse at nearly every level in their essays. Their writing got lazier, more formulaic, and by the end of the final session, they were pretty much copy-pasting the entire essay from ChatGPT. Researchers also noted a strange side effect. Nearly 83% of the ChatGPT users couldn't recall or accurately quote from the essays that they had just written minutes earlier. Probably because they didn't freaking write it. Meanwhile, the group that had to use their own brains, well, they consistently showed the highest level of brain engagement, and they reported the strongest sense of ownership over their work. And then this is where things get even crazier, because in follow-up sessions past, the point of all of this, some participants were asked to switch using tools. Those who had been using ChatGPT were suddenly forced to go tool-free, and they still showed like low brain activity. It's like almost as if their brain had atrophied. This was the part that I didn't like the most. It was like, hopefully you can just get that back if you just switch to using your own brain, but apparently not. But in contrast, the participants who went from brain only to then using ChatGPT, they saw a burst of neural activity. So, I mean, I guess if they continued to use it, it would go down, but yeah. In summary, the researchers warned that relying too heavily on AI could lead to what they're now calling cognitive debt. They say it's a kind of learned laziness where people stop exerting their own thinking because AI makes everything easier. But I guess the question is, because we're going to have a lot of people, like a lot of us now use ChatGPT. So it's like, is it one of those situations where it's like, yeah, we never, when we were growing up and like the calculator was coming along and our teacher was like, well, you're not going to always have a calculator in your pocket. You know that meme? And now it's like, well, Who cares if I know my times tables? When has that ever served me? So is it one of those arguments? Well, who cares if I use ChatGPT? When is that gonna serve me to write essays? Or is it a genuinely bad sign that AI is bending humanity over and just having its way with us? Sorry, that's a terrible analogy, jeez. Sorry for that thought in your head, Alex. I don't even... God. But what do you think? I'd love to know what your thoughts are in the comments. Fascinating study, and that is a wrap. I will still be here on Wednesday and Friday for regular back-to-work chop newsboy scheduling.
Chop newsboy.
Chop you newsboy. Man, it is good to be back. Again, like and subscribe if you missed your supreme leader, and I'll see you in the next one. Saying all American citizens abroad should be at aware or